I think there's no one reason, but we have to understand that people's objections to the current state of affairs is not simply economic. The conventional wisdom is that democracies are not delivering. If democracies deliver better, then upset citizens will return to the fold. And I think this is partially true, but only partially. There are many other reasons that have to do with identity, with a sense that politicians and the political class have failed them, with issues of respect and status that go beyond mere economics. And I think policymakers, but also democratic leaders, political leaders, have to understand this. Yes, of course, we need more economic growth, more equality, better jobs, higher wages, but we need a lot more than that. There's a crisis of respect and there's a crisis of status in many countries, not only advanced democracies, but also emerging nations, which needs to be fixed if voters are to come back to the parties of the center, to liberal democratic parties, and if they're to abandon the authoritarian populists of the right and also the authoritarian populists of the left. They're both threats and they both must be fought. It depends on the country. In some countries a long time ago, in other countries more recently. But I think a remarkable fact is that we're seeing a very similar phenomenon across countries that are very different. It's happening in Germany, but also in India, and it's happening in South Africa, but also in Brazil, and it's happening in the United Kingdom and in the United States, but also in the Philippines or Indonesia. Different countries, different levels of development, but over the last, say, 10 or 15 years, we see increasing discontent with political elites, a radicalization of something which has always existed in human beings, which is a sense of tribal, us against them, we against you. And it is not obvious what the trigger was. One candidate for that trigger, of course, is a change in the way we communicate. The advent of social media was expected to be great for democracy. I think the short news and the sad news, it's been pretty terrible for democracy. This year, it will have been 35 years since the famous Washington Consensus became public. And in the last 35 years, the discipline of economics has changed a lot. But of course, the world has also changed a lot, and we have learned a fair bit about what was right in the Washington Consensus. There were a few things that in fact were right, and there were plenty of things that were wrong. And so what we did at the London School of Economics was to invite a number of scholars from different subdisciplines within economics to reflect about what it is that we have learned in these 35 years and what it is that we should do differently going forward.